Well, let's still stay a little longer on matters regarding power, because following the ongoing plant maintenance and upgrade of power equipment by GRIDCO and the Electricity Company of Ghana, some power experts want a timetable for the intermittent power supply. According to them, the present power challenges in the country is practically doomsday, and therefore a schedule will enable consumers to plan well. Of course, Nana Emoasi VII, Executive Director for the Institute of Energy Securities, who toes this particular line of argument. But joining us via Zoom this afternoon is Dr. Yusuf Suleiman, an energy expert, to share his thoughts on this pressing matter. Doctor, we're so grateful that you joined us via Marketplace. First of all, considering what's going on in the power sector, do you think Ghana is sort of following the best practices from around the world?
Yeah. Thank you very much, Charles. Good afternoon to you, and good afternoon to your cherished viewers and then listeners in Ghana and across the globe. Yes, I wouldn't say Ghana is off the tangent with respect to best practices, but I believe there's so much we can still do to make sure that we are efficient. I mean, we are operating a very unique system whereby some portions of, the value chain is in a way liberalized, whilst other portions are strictly regulated. So in that kind of chain, it becomes very dicey and a little bit difficult, to maintain uniformity in terms of efficiency. So I would say there's room for improvement in each of the value chain, as in generation, transmission, and distribution. And so because these chains are intricately linked and seamlessly linked, any inefficiency in one portion of the generation or the supply chain will have a cascading impact on the other portions, and overall it will have a cascading impact, on what the end consumer pays, as electrical tariffs. So I would say that yes, there's massive room for improvement, because we are operating the hybrid system, and hybrid system is quite critical. If you don't manage some portions well, I think you will have some difficulties. And I think that's what we are facing now.
But, businesses have called for a schedule to aid in planning. And of course, GRIDCO is also insisting there is no need for a schedule. What should be the best way out in terms of balance?
Yeah, I think I think it's a right call. The businesses call to get clarity on these issues are very legitimate, because Charles, as you know, dependable power is key, to business continuity planning and to some extent profitability. If a businessman plans, he plans with respect to the fact that he's going to get a dependable power, consistent power and available power at competitive rates. And so going forward, I think what the players need to do is to involve all stakeholders in this issue of planning, because I see there is a gap in terms of communication gap from GRIDCO and that of the other stakeholders. So GRIDCO has to involve them. Whatever plan that they have, they have to involve all these players, and the players will own this outcome of the plans. And so what is happening is that players don't know what is happening. So if GRIDCO can come up clearly and most importantly, involve the players on the way forward. So I think these legitimate fears will be, allayed. So the fears are legitimate, and it's a call in the right direction. They need to involve the stakeholders.
Great.
Whatever plan that they are doing, they need to involve them. And so each party will own the outcome.
I believe that you do know that already some experts have argued that the bane of GRIDCO is financing. Of course, GRIDCO also argues that it's about retooling its transmission infrastructure and not really having issues with finance. What's your take on this?
Yeah, I think Charles is just talking about the same thing. You can't retool if you don't have finance, and you will definitely need some bit of financing to retool the system. And so over the years, I think a lot of experts have been calling to the fact that, with so much, focus on the generation to the detriment of transmission and distribution. And what's happening is that I think the investment within the distribution and the transmission side has not been that massive as compared to the generation side, to the extent that we are having excess power. We are having closer to 5,000 in terms of our potential, when our peak demand barely reaches 3,000 megawatts.
All right.
And so if you look at that, just opposing that with the other sectors, I think it is just critical that we have investment into the distribution massive investment into the distribution, massive investment into the transmission. And that means that if you are retooling, and I mean, if you say you are retooling, it means that it's finance that you need to retool. So yes, inherently, I think we'll need some kind of capital injection into that system, because over the years, I think it's been neglected to the, I mean, it's sidelined. You know, we so much focus on the generation and sideline the distribution and the transmission.
Others describe this as a wild imagination, but one could ask the question, do you think it is high time that Ghana explores some privatization of GRIDCO?
Yes, I think. When I started my submission, I mentioned that if one portion of it is regulated and the other portions are not, it's bound to be these problems. And now the whole issue about our power generation, ranging from generation to distribution to transmission, it's about inefficiencies, okay? So even if you have the quantum of finance that is required to rejuvenate the system or to revitalize the system, you inject this capital and you are not able to plug the leakages as in inefficiencies. You will come back to naught. I mean, you'll come back to zero. So I think, yes, going forward, we need to involve private sector. And involving private sector will come when we liberalize the system. Why do we have to leave the distribution system still so regulated? Why do you have to leave the transmission system still regulated? So I think going forward, generation has to be liberated, transmission has to be liberalized, generation has to be liberalized, and then distribution has to be liberalized. If these portions are liberalized, I think what we're going to see is that we're going to have a lot of injectivity of efficiency. And when there's efficiency, we're going to have cost competitiveness, and that will drive down costs to the end user at the end of the day.
I guess we could have more discussion on this, especially with the privatization of GRIDCO, as you suggested. But Dr. Suleiman, we're so grateful that you joined us. He is an energy consultant, a petroleum consultant at that.